And so with the action events, it's basically going to be more of a hands-on learning. And as you probably know, at least for me, hands-on learning is way more effective than sitting down and listening to someone else try and teach me something. And so with these events, it's going to be a lot more hands-on work. So then it is a little more effective than normal. For our first event, it's going to be our Keepers and Providers. So our Keepers and Providers is for all ages. It's not just for the students. And so what Keepers and Providers is, it's broken down into two different sections. The Keepers is going to be for the young girls and adults, and then the Providers is for the male. This event is to let young girls and boys learn life skills, basic life skills, spiritual skills, and basic communication between the older generations and the youth. So let's say you're having a potluck meal, and you have a little girl that tasted one of the casseroles, and she's just enjoying it so much, and she's like, "Hey, I want to learn how to make that casserole." So this will fall into the keeper side, and so then whoever made the casserole, whether it's one of the older ladies at church that has perfected it, or Miss Powell over here, maybe she has a good casserole, but she would be able to take that student there and just take her under her wing and show her how to create that. It's basic life skills, but it also gains that communication through both generations. Our next up is Junior Leader, and I actually have the book right here. We have 3 different books, so this is our newest one, Junior Leader 3. In this book, we have quite a few different study materials for the younger kids. So this book is geared towards kindergarten through 5th grade. And so in here we have a student book and then a teacher's book as well. And so it gives you quite a few different study materials for Bible class, for homeschooling, really anything you need. It has breakdowns between age groups, so it's more simpler for the younger ones. And then once you get to 5th grade, we have material for them as well. Next up is Good Samaritan. When you previously were interacting with Last Leaders, did you have anyone that did Good Samaritan? Okay, yeah, hey, no problem.
Right here.
So Good Samaritan is year-round, and it's all ages. So there's no age limit on this one. With Good Samaritan, it's pretty much to show youth and adults how to be a servant leader for Christ. So that's whether helping the church, it's outreach, it's hosting over families to get to know them a little better. Anything that is to grow the church, that is under the Good Samaritan event. Next up is Sower. Sower was actually written by a guy named Phil Sanders. He is a great supporter of Lads to Leaders. It took him close to 2 years to write out this book, and it's just to show the youth and the adults how to be more evangelistic. And so with that, this book goes into quite a few details on how to get kids to be more active in the church and to grow the church as well. Next up, we have bulletin board year-round. It's pretty standard, and it tells you right what it is right here. So this is to show kids how to build out a bulletin board. Bulletin boards are very popular at my congregation. The kids love playing with them. Mitchell has one that's down the hallway. It has a bunch of bees on them. And then every church service, he would say, "Hey, I want to go see the bees." So we would have to walk all the way around the church building to go see them. But bulletin board is one of the options on here. Another one is scrapbook. Next, we're going to move on to our Bible category, our Bible events. The first one is Read the Word. Read the Word is an event that encourages people of all ages to read the Bible. And so, as you know, everyone should be reading their Bible every day. It's a task, but it is something that you need to keep up with. The next one is Oral Bible Reading. Oral Bible reading, to me, is always very encouraging to watch at Lads to Leaders. So this one is from kindergarten through 6th grade. And what it is you go and you can watch all those kids of those ages just read the Bible. And so if you're in there watching the second graders, it's always fun to just see them as they're learning to read and they're wanting to read the Bible. It's so encouraging. Next is Know the Books. So Know the Books is just encouraging people to know the order of the books. You don't have to say them to me or at convention. You can say them to your husband, your wife, your parents, or even a puppy dog. I mean, it's whatever you want to tell them. But the bronze category is for the New Testament, the silver category is for the Old Testament, and the gold is for both. Next is Centurion of Scripture. So this is going to be what Mr. Terry was bringing up earlier. So this is just created to help you memorize verses. And so we have quite a few different categories for Centurion of Scripture. The bronze is for learning 100 verses in any group. Gold is 100 verses in one setting. And then Deca is for those who can quote 1,000 verses. And so we have had a few that have hit Deca last year. I know that one. And so it's always encouraging to see, somebody that can memorize 1,000 verses. Pretty good. Next up is Bible Bowl. So Bible Bowl this year is actually based on the book of Genesis. And so with this, individuals can either take the Bible Bowl test at their home congregation and have it graded electronically. They can also be on a Bible Bowl team for convention. And those teams consist of 4 students. And all of the questions within Bible Bowl are all based out of the New King James Version. And so this one can be out of convention, can be at convention, but it just encourages people to, learn, for instance, this year, learn more about Genesis.
Like, how many members are usually on a Bible Bowl team?
There's 4 members per Bible Bowl team. Lastly, we have our Pearls event. So Pearls is pretty much a follow-up of Bible Bowl. So it's a more in-depth study for this year of Genesis. And this is where you're going to get the meat of all of that study material. A lot of families at my congregation use Bible Bowl and Pearls for homeschooling, for their Bible curriculum. It's a very good study. Bible Bowl is going to be more on the surface, but then Pearls follows up with more of the meat.
Like we do use the Pearls for adult class.
Yes.
Kickoff for a year usually.
Well, perfect. Yes, sir. And you have this year's, I assume. Perfect. Well, that's awesome. Next up, we have our communication events. So this one, our first one's going to be speech. So we have 2 different options. We have year-round speech, and then we also have speech at convention. So speech was created by, as I mentioned in the video, Jack Zorn. So Jack Zorn created Lads of Leaders back in 1968 at the Warner Robins Church in Georgia. And the reason it happened was because the elders at that church ended up asking Jack Zorn to start teaching the youth how to do public speaking rather than teaching adults. And so once he started that, they started with 8 kids, and ever since then it has grown thousands. And so with that, speech encourages kids to learn how to do public speaking, speak about the Word, and it has done such a great thing. We have we have involved the most preachers in the world out of anything. And so with that, we actually just had a speech-a-thon at Faulkner a few weeks back. And with that, we had 45 individuals that were invited from Lads of Leaders. And we have great ties with Faulkner, and they ended up giving scholarships to each of the kids that actually attempted to do their speech. The first 2 that won, the top girl and the top boy that won, actually ended up getting a full ride. And then President Mitch Henry ended up giving everyone else $16,000 just for participating. So being in Lads of Leaders brings a lot of virtue and a lot of connections that will last a lifetime. Next up, we have debate. And I do have a speech and debate book here. So in this book, it pretty much tells you how a debate is and what you need to learn how to do one. It's a pretty in-depth study. It gives you some note pages in here on each of the chapters as well. But debate at convention, you have two-person team, and they typically have been assigned a category through Lads to Leaders each year. This year's category actually is very relevant to today's time. Let me tell you the full description of it. All right, so this year's debate topic is, in the absence of significant restraints, Christians must prioritize physical assembly over virtual assembly for worship. And so ever since COVID, we do have the live stream option, which is great, but it's a debate over whether it's okay just to skip out on the regular worship and just do virtual worship at home, or vice versa. Next up is our song leading and songs of praise. So song leading is meant for our boys, and then songs of praise is for the girls at the convention. So this can be either year-round or just at convention. And with this, as it states, you're learning how to direct songs for a service. I did this every year in Lads to Leaders, and I'm excited to do it today. I love singing. I was in the chorus at Faulkner. I was in the band. But going through Lads to Leaders, it taught me everything I need to know about conducting, about leading a worship for song leading as well. Next up we have art. So under the art events we have where people can submit paintings, drawing and sketching, photography, posters, and bulletin boards. And those are all going to be based off of the theme of Lads to Leaders each year. Next up is mass communications. So in here, it's more on the technology side. So the students can create a podcast, they can create a blog, a storyline, or a PowerPoint. And so if I would have done PowerPoint back then, it probably would have helped me a lot now, since I'm doing PowerPoint in my church quite often. But it helps with the technology side on how to advance worship and how to conduct that worship as well. Lastly, in the communication events, we have puppets. Puppets was always one of my favorite things to do. It helps you learn how to speak in front of people without having to be seen, which was great when I was little. And so I always enjoyed working as a team and learning more about God and spiritual growth through the puppet shows. Over 2/3 of the Lads to Leaders events are non-competitive. We get a lot of, I wouldn't say pushback, but we do get a lot of comments back about competitiveness, which we understand, but that's not our core focus of Lads to Leaders. Our focus on Lads to Leaders is to get kids involved and get them to know how to grow and want them to grow into church. And so with that, we do a lot, rewards for the Lads to Leaders events, but with that, it keeps bringing kids back. And so we do have the awards, but like I said, it's not our core focus for Lads to Leaders. Next up is Bartimaeus. So Bartimaeus is honestly one of the most encouraging events there is at Lads to Leaders. So Bartimaeus essentially just provides an opportunity for the students and adults with special needs to give a speech, sing a song, and read the Bible. It's non-competitive, it's very friendly, and it's very supporting from the crowd. And so every year, me and my wife enjoy going to Bartimaeus. It's just so encouraging to get up there and watch what they can do and that they want to do. It's just, if the whole world would try as much as they do in Bartimaeus, then it would be a much better place. As I mentioned, we do have some team events such as Bible Bowl, debate, puppets. So that's just listing it here for you. We have already discussed that. Then right here we have quite a few opportunities just right here at home. I hit on it a little bit back at the beginning of speaking, but with quite a few of the opportunities, you can help lead a song in worship, you can read the scripture, you can also conduct worship services for neighboring churches and nursing homes, there's just quite a few opportunities that can help you grow, even just right here at church. All right, so let's get back to the ABCs one more time. So getting started in Lads to Leaders is very simple. All you need to do is just select a couple of action events. Let me get over there, a little behind. All right. All you need to do is select a couple of action events, select a couple of Bible events, and then select a couple of communication events. And once you've selected your events, you're ready to fully dive into Lads to Leaders. So what we do is we have one assigned group leader at each of the congregations that go to Lads to Leaders. That's pretty much our primary contact from our side. And with that, you get as many volunteers as you can. We also do offer some assistance from our end as well with congregations. But that's essentially all you need to get started into Lads to Leaders. All right, next up, I'm just going to show you a few of the books that I do have today. If you're interested in looking at them, we also are able to take some payments if you do want to purchase them today as well. We do have an online bookstore through our website and everything like that if you'd rather just order it at a later date. So on here I have the speech and debate book that I already held up, our Field Book of Leadership, which is it goes through all of our events at Lads to Leaders and gives you a more in-depth on why we do it at Lads to Leaders. We have Teach Me to Pray. This one we came out with last year. Essentially, it just teaches you how to pray and why you want to pray. In the book, it also has a prayer journal at the back, so you can log those prayers each day. And then our newest book is the Wilderness Challenge. We've created a new event for Wilderness Challenge. And so this is encouraging kids to go outside and learn about God's creation. So Roy Johnson, he was a part of the Boy Scouts for quite some time. And so this one really hit home with him because he loved being outside. And so with this book, we've got 8 different chapters written by 8 different men. And it gives you the reasonings behind, like this one, Hiking the Wilderness by Halo Fernandez. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he hiked the whole Appalachian Trail. And with this, he goes into great studies on what happened on that trail and how he found God through that trail. On our website, we do have some training videos on how to get set up with Lads to Leaders. And we also have our full rules book on the website as well. And that is all I had for today. Here is our Facebook, Instagram, and website if anybody wants to take a follow of us. But I want to thank you again, Mr. Terry, for letting me come out this morning and speak with you. Looking forward to leading songs in worship today. And if y'all have any questions or want to see any of the books, I'm glad to speak with you whenever. So, do you have anything else, Mr. Terry?
No, but open the floor for questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Does Lads to Leaders, do you have a topic that changes each year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it does. So this year is all based on Genesis, and it's meant, and the topic or the theme is called Meant for Good. So everything regarding the puppet shows, the debate topics, everything like that's going to be all meant for good. So everything's themed different each year. Yes, sir. Yes.
What's like the youngest you've seen generally, like people joining Lads to Leaders? Like, what are some good events for really young kids?
Yeah. So the youngest we take or that start participating at Lads to Leaders is 3 years old. And so with that, we have Know the Books. We do song leading. Even some kids do speech, not quite 3 years old, but 5-year-old is where they typically try to start. But there's quite a few options that are available for the 3-year-olds. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Lads to Leaders has been such a great program. Appreciate your presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But my question is, has the program reached the West Coast? I mean, has it been effective?
We are getting there. Yes, sir. We have a North Las Vegas convention in May. Right now, we've got close to 200 people that to attend it. But from one of my colleagues at work, he's actually gotten in contact with a church from Wyoming that's interested, and so we're going to be trying to delve farther into that West Coast. But it's just so far over there from us; it's hard to get to. But we are trying to expand over there. We have quite a big convention over in Texas that gets a lot of churches from the West Coast, but we're trying to grow that North Las Vegas a little more. So, yes, sir. Thank you.
Is there a register of those that have been participating? Like, and the reason I'm asking, if there's area congregations that we may be able to reach out to.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I can
That
I have
you
a
know,
register.
doing last leaders, we can ask them to come help mentor a little bit or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a list of every church that's in Lads of Leaders that's participated in the past. That's why I had your contact on there, Mr. Terry. And so we highly encourage other congregations nearby to invest in other churches as well. So that's a great question. Yes, sir.
Blake, again, thanks for your presentation.
Thank
You did an outstanding
Yeah.
job.
Thank you.
We at the Van Cleve Church support multiple foreign mission works,
Mhm.
and particularly we have a couple in India and also in Guam. Do you have any knowledge of any past experience with LASD leaders in foreign mission fields? And if so, maybe where and how does that work if you do?
Yes, sir. We've actually got a few overseas. So we have a new board member. His name is Ricky Gautam.
I know Ricky Gautam.
So Ricky has been flooding everywhere over there, starting Lads of Leaders. So we have some in India. Where do we have? We have some in India. We have one in Romania. We're looking at Africa with Ricky and a few other continents as well. But he is on fire to start all over every other country out there.
Sure.
And so
We
yes.
have a really good missionary that we support over in Guam.
Okay.
And he's begun his mission within the last 3 to 5 years, and they're really growing exponentially now, and they're really pushing the youth as far as Christian principles and New Covenant teaching and benevolence, and really kind of a mirror to this, but not trying to be like this. And I'm wondering if maybe that was something we could introduce
Yeah.
to our missionaries overseas.
Yeah,
Sounds
so-
like it's already being done.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we already have a few out there, but we are always growing that side as well. So yes, sir.
Great.
Are there any other questions? If not, thank you for your time today. Like I said, I'm looking forward to leading singing here in a few minutes for the congregation. But if you have any additional questions, want to take a look at the books, please let me know.